How to overcome loneliness. 5 practical ways to make new friends in your golden years. They say growing old is a privilege not everyone gets, but they don't often talk about the quiet that comes with it. Not the peaceful kind of quiet that wraps around you on a summer evening, but the kind that settles in your chest when the phone doesn't ring for days, or when you look around the room and realize the people you used to call your closest friends aren't there anymore. Some have moved away, some have grown distant, and some are simply gone. And so the days stretch a little longer. The world feels like it's moving faster than you ever signed up for. There are people everywhere, on the street, in the store, online. Yet somehow it can feel like you're sitting behind an invisible wall, watching it all go by. You smile politely, exchange a few words here and there, but deep down, what you're craving isn't just small talk, it's real connection. The kind that feels like coming home, the kind you thought might belong to a different chapter of life. But here's the truth, one that doesn't get said enough. Friendship doesn't retire, connection doesn't age out, and loneliness, while real and heavy, is not a life sentence. This stage of life, these golden years, are still yours to shape. You carry stories, wisdom, resilience. You've laughed, cried, endured, and celebrated your way through decades of change. That kind of living leaves you with something more valuable than gold: perspective. And perspective, my friend, makes you not just someone worth knowing, but someone this world needs to know. Loneliness thrives in silence, but connection is waiting on the other side of a single choice: to try again. And trying again doesn't mean chasing your youth or becoming someone you're not. It means showing up, just as you are, curious enough to believe there's still beauty ahead. It means giving yourself permission to begin again, to risk awkward conversations, to show up at that local event, to smile first, to text that neighbor. It means trusting that just because something has changed doesn't mean everything good is behind you. So in the next part of this conversation, I'm going to walk with you through 5 practical, down-to-earth ways you can start forming real, meaningful friendships again. Not someday, not when you feel more confident, but now. Because you're not done living, and you're certainly not done connecting. Number 1, reignite the spark. Rediscovering your social self. Let's be honest, after a certain point in life, it's easy to forget just how social we once were. Not because we stopped caring, but because life slowly shifted its focus. First came the responsibilities: raising a family, building a career, managing a household. Then came the transitions: retirement, kids moving out, loved ones passing on, friends relocating. One by one, the everyday interactions that used to bring warmth and energy began to disappear, not out of choice, but out of change. And somewhere along the way, you might have stopped seeing yourself as someone who makes new friends. Maybe the thought of introducing yourself feels foreign now, or the idea of walking into a room full of strangers makes you want to turn around and go home. You wouldn't be the only one. But here's something I want you to remember: you haven't lost the ability to connect. You've just been out of practice. The social self you once were, that curious, engaging, funny, kind person, is still in there. Maybe they're buried under a few layers of routine, grief, or self-doubt. But they're not gone. They just need a little spark to wake back up. So let's start there, not with how to meet people, not with where to go, but with you, because you are the starting point for every future connection. When you begin to rediscover the parts of yourself that make you feel alive, interested, open, that's when friendships begin to form naturally. People are drawn to authenticity, to passion, to presence. And when you reconnect with who you are at your core, not your job title, not your relationship status, not the year on your birth certificate, but who you are as a person, everything else begins to follow. You don't need to become more entertaining or social or interesting. You already are enough. What you might need is to ask yourself a few honest questions. What lights me up? What have I always loved but lost touch with? What kind of people do I want to spend time with? What kind of energy do I want in my life moving forward? This isn't about looking backward with regret. It's about remembering that you still have a say in what your life looks like now. It might mean picking up an old hobby, painting, reading, writing, gardening, and doing it not for productivity but for joy. It might mean taking yourself out to a place that makes you feel good, just to remind yourself that you're allowed to enjoy your own company. It might mean speaking more kindly to yourself, because the way we treat ourselves sets the tone for the way we let others treat us. People can't be drawn to you if you've hidden yourself away. And maybe that hiding was necessary for a time. Maybe it was a way to cope with pain or uncertainty. But you're still here, and that matters. That means something. So let's not wait for someone else to pull us out of the shadows. Let's take that first step ourselves. Not a giant leap, not a life overhaul, just a small decision to show up to ourselves first. Because when you see your own worth again, so will everyone else. And that is the beginning of connection. That is how the spark is reignited. Number 2, community is closer than you think. When you hear the word community, what comes to mind? Maybe you picture something from the past, neighbors who knew each other by name, church picnics, block parties, a time when people just stopped by without calling first. Those moments might feel like they belong to another era, a different rhythm of life. But community isn't gone, it's just shifted. And more than anything, it's waiting for you to step into it again. The truth is, we often think building community is this grand, overwhelming project. Something that takes huge effort, endless energy, or the perfect personality. But real community is made up of small, consistent interaction. It's not about who you used to know. It's about who you're willing to meet now. And the good news, those people you're hoping to find, they're closer than you think. Every town, every neighborhood, every city has hidden pockets of life happening just under the surface. Maybe you've walked past a community center and never gone in. Maybe there's a walking group that meets at the park, a weekly class at the library, or a garden club you saw mentioned in the paper. They may not look flashy from the outside, but they're full of people just like you. People who are showing up, sometimes awkwardly, sometimes nervously, but always hopefully. Community is built by showing up. And yes, that first step is often the hardest. It feels strange at first, walking into a room where everyone seems to know each other, trying to find a seat, wondering if anyone will talk to you. That moment of vulnerability can feel enormous. But what if you knew that half the people in that room were feeling the exact same thing? You're not the only one craving connection. You're not the only one who's lost friends, who's new to retirement, who feels like a stranger in your own town. You're not the only one afraid to be the new person. Which means when you show up, you're not just helping yourself, you're also becoming part of the solution for someone else. Start small. You don't have to commit to a big weekly schedule. Say yes to one thing, one class, one club, one lunch. And don't walk in expecting instant chemistry or deep friendships right away. Walk in just expecting to be present. That's more than enough. Remember, every lasting friendship started with a first hello. Every close group once had its awkward beginning. No one is keeping score of how smooth your first conversation was. What matters is that you showed up, that you tried. And here's something powerful. When you return to the same place a second time, it gets easier. A third time, even more so, faces become familiar. You start feeling like you belong, and slowly but surely your world begins to feel a little warmer, a little more open. Don't underestimate the power of being seen regularly, whether it's chatting with the person at the coffee shop you always pass, joining the same morning Tai Chi class, or striking up a conversation at the dog park. Connection lives in repetition. You don't need 100 new friends. You don't need a dramatic change. You just need to find one small place to be, again and again, and let familiarity do its work. Because community doesn't always come to your front door, but it's out there closer than you think, waiting for you to come find it. Number 3. The power of intergenerational friendship. There's a certain kind of magic that happens when different generations come together. It's not always loud or flashy. Sometimes it's as simple as a conversation over coffee, or a question that leads to a shared laugh. But in those moments, something powerful unfolds. Connection across time, across experience, across perspective. And it can change everything. We're often taught to find friends our own age, as if people outside our generation won't understand us or share our interests. But that's a myth worth letting go of. In fact, some of the most life-giving relationships can happen when we step outside our age bubble and open ourselves up to people who see the world a little differently. Think about it. What you've lived through, someone younger hasn't yet. And what they're experiencing now, you may have lived long ago. That's not a gap. It's a bridge. You carry decades of wisdom, patience, and insight. You've weathered storms. You've adapted. You've seen change up close. These aren't just stories, they're gifts. And younger people, whether they realize it or not, are often hungry for exactly that. Guidance that doesn't come with judgment. Stories that ground them, perspective that gives them hope. At the same time, younger friends can breathe energy back into your world. They might introduce you to new music, teach you how to use a new app, or share fresh perspectives that challenge and stretch you. There's something revitalizing about spending time with someone who sees the future wide open, and when you pair that with your seasoned view of the world, both of you walk away enriched. These relationships don't need to be complicated. They can start in the simplest of ways: volunteering at a local school or youth program, mentoring through community outreach, attending intergenerational events at your local library or place of worship, even striking up a conversation with a neighbor's teenager or the young person who bags your groceries every week. And in today's world, the beauty is that intergenerational connection doesn't even have to be in person. Many younger folks are eager to connect online, especially when they see that older adults are open to learning. You might be surprised how many young people would love to teach someone how to video chat, set up a playlist, or even share stories through social media. Let's be clear. This isn't about trying to be young again. You don't need to change who you are or start using slang you don't understand. It's about showing up as yourself, a person with value, stories, humor, and presence, and inviting someone else into that space, regardless of how many candles are on their birthday cake. When we only seek friendships with people exactly like us, we miss out on growth. But when we step into conversations with people from other walks of life, we remember that learning and laughter don't have an age limit. So if you're feeling stuck, or like you haven't clicked with people your age lately, maybe it's time to widen the circle. Maybe the next friend you need isn't someone who remembers the same radio shows or danced to the same records, but someone who's eager to learn what life looked like before smartphones, who wants to hear what courage looked like before Instagram. Give that kind of friendship a chance. You might just find that while the years between you are many, the connection you build is timeless. Number 4. Let tech be your ally, not your enemy. Let's talk about the thing that many people over 60 are quietly frustrated with: technology. It moves fast, it changes overnight, and sometimes it feels like you've been dropped into a foreign country where everyone else speaks the language except you. You wouldn't be the only one who's thrown their hands up at a new phone update or stared blankly at a screen wondering where the start button went. It's frustrating. It can feel alienating, and it's easy to think, this just isn't for me. But here's something you might not hear enough. You're not too old to learn this stuff. You're not too late. And technology, while intimidating at times, might actually be one of the most powerful tools you have right now for rebuilding connection. We're living in a time where community and conversation no longer depend on physical proximity. You can live hundreds of miles from someone and still build a friendship. You can share a laugh with a group, take a class, join a club, or even attend a book discussion, all without leaving your home. That's not science fiction. That's the internet, and it's working every day for people just like you. So let's take a deep breath and reframe how we see it. Technology isn't the enemy. It's a bridge. But like any bridge, it needs to be crossed with a little patience and the right guidance. You don't have to become a tech wizard. You just need to learn enough to use it in a way that brings joy, not stress. Start simple. Do you have a smartphone or a tablet? There are apps designed specifically for seniors to meet others safely and meaningfully. Try out a platform like Meetup, which allows people to join local or virtual groups based on shared interests. Walking, photography, cooking, music, writing, you name it. Feeling unsure? Ask for help. Ask your children, grandchildren, or even a neighbor to sit down with you and walk through the basics. And if that's not an option, many libraries and senior centers now offer free digital literacy classes tailored specifically for older adults. There's no shame in needing help. In fact, asking for help is often the first step toward confidence. Once you're comfortable, you'll be amazed at how many doors open. Want to attend a virtual poetry reading in London? You can. Want to join a Facebook group of retirees who love birdwatching? It's out there. Want to FaceTime your niece and actually see her smile instead of just hearing her voice? Done. And yes, technology has its downsides. It can never fully replace the warmth of in-person connection. But when used intentionally, it can enhance your world in ways that weren't even possible a decade ago. Some seniors have even found love online. Others have reconnected with childhood friends through Facebook or made new ones through Zoom discussion groups. A man in his 70s recently started a podcast with his grandson, and now thousands tune in to hear them talk about life. Past. A woman in her late 60s found a knitting circle on YouTube and ended up with pen pals around the world. These aren't exceptions. They're examples of what's possible. So don't let the fear of looking silly or making a mistake hold you back. Everyone fumbles when they start something new. You're not failing, you're learning. And every time you try, even if you don't get it perfect, you're proving something powerful. You're still growing. You're still reaching out. Technology doesn't care how old you are, but the people on the other side of the screen, they might be exactly who you need. And maybe, just maybe, you're exactly who they need too. Number 5, be the one who reaches out. Let's talk about the part of loneliness that often hurts the most. Not the silence, not the long days, not even the memories that echo through an empty house. It's the waiting. The quiet hope that someone will call, someone will knock, someone will remember you, that someone else will make the first move. But here's the hard truth, delivered with care. Most people are waiting, just like you. They're waiting for someone to invite them, to notice them, to make them feel like they matter again. And when everyone is waiting, nothing moves. Everyone stays in their own quiet corners, feeling and connection. A real, meaningful, heart-opening connection never gets the chance to begin. That's why this final piece might be the most important of all. Be the one who reaches out. It doesn't mean you have to be bold or extroverted or brimming with confidence. Reaching out isn't about grand gestures. It's about small human ones. It's about noticing someone and choosing to make the first move, even if your voice shakes a little when you do. Maybe it starts with a smile and a hello to someone you see often but haven't spoken to yet. Maybe it's writing a note to a neighbor or inviting someone for coffee, even if it's just in your kitchen. Maybe it's calling a relative you haven't spoken to in a while and saying, "I was thinking about you." The truth is, most people are more open to connection than you think. They're just afraid of rejection. And that fear, though understandable, is something we all have to move through if we want something deeper than just polite nods and passing conversation. And yes, sometimes you'll try and not get much back. That's okay. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you, it just means that person may not be ready. But the next one might be. And the one after that. When you take that brave first step, even in small ways, you become a spark in someone else's world. You give them permission to open up, to trust, to feel less alone. And in doing so, you start to feel less alone yourself. Also, consider reconnecting with people from your past. A former coworker, an old friend you lost touch with, that person you always meant to have lunch with, but life got in the way. It's never too late to say, "Hey, I was thinking about you. How are you doing these days?" And don't underestimate the power of community rituals, sending birthday cards, writing thank you notes, showing up to events, even when it feels easier to stay home. These small acts create a rhythm of belonging for others and for yourself. It's also worth saying that reaching out doesn't mean you always have to be the strong one. Sometimes the most honest way to connect is by sharing that you're lonely. Vulnerability has a way of cutting through the surface and inviting people into something real. When you open up even just a little, it often gives others the courage to do the same. And if you're feeling emotionally worn down or uncertain, try leaning into practices like mindfulness or journaling. They help you stay connected to yourself, to your inner life, and to the small, beautiful things around you. Gratitude, especially, has a quiet way of shifting your view from what's missing to what's still possible. Being the one who reaches out takes courage. It takes heart. But the rewards go far beyond friendship. It brings back a sense of agency, the reminder that you are not powerless in your loneliness. You have the ability to create change, to build warmth, to foster connection. Every friendship starts somewhere. Someone has to say the first word, make the first move, take the first risk. Why not let that someone be you? Conclusion: it's never too late to build a beautiful life. So here we are. We've walked through the quiet aches of loneliness, the courage it takes to rediscover yourself, the simple beauty of community, the unexpected richness of intergenerational friendships, the surprising power of technology, and the quiet bravery of reaching out first. And through it all, one truth has stood firm. You are not finished. You're not done growing, not done connecting, not done laughing, listening, or being deeply known. Loneliness can make the world feel small, but it is not the end of your story. These golden years aren't meant to be spent in silence. They're meant to be lived fully, openly, and surrounded by people who remind you that your presence matters. Yes, it takes effort. Yes, it takes vulnerability. But it also takes belief. Belief that the most meaningful chapters of your life might still be ahead. That love, in all its forms, friendship, connection, community, is still out there waiting for you. Remember this: you are someone worth knowing. Your life is filled with stories, wisdom, and light that someone else needs. And you deserve friendships that see you, appreciate you, and bring you back to life in ways you might not even expect. So don't let another week drift by in silence. Say yes to the invitation. Make the call. Sign up for the group. Smile first. Ask the question. Send the message. Because you never know when that one small moment, the one you almost talked yourself out of, becomes the beginning of a lifelong bond. This isn't about fixing everything overnight. It's about choosing to step out from behind the curtain of isolation, one moment at a time. One conversation, one connection, one brave little yes. You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to begin. Because no matter how many years are behind you, the part of you that longs for connection is still very much alive, and that part deserves to be heard, seen, and celebrated. So take the first step. Not tomorrow, not someday, today. And as you do, may you remember this clearly, tenderly, and without doubt. It's never too late to build a beautiful life.